وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. So tonight we look at chapter 6, which the Imam al-Musannaf has entitled باب تفسير التوحيد وشهادة أن لا إله إلا الله. It's a chapter explaining the meaning of التوحيد and the testimony that there's no deity worthy of worship except Allah. So basically what the author intends by this chapter is to break a tawheed down to its lowest compound and to help us understand that a tawheed and the testimony of faith, which is kalimat al-tawheed, shahadati an la ilaha illallah, that basically what they are in effect is a nafi wal ithbat, negation and affirmation, negating all of the things that belong to Allah, denying and negating those things from other than Allah, and affirming those things which are exclusively Allah's or exclusively God's, affirming those for Allah. So if you look at the Shahada, you see that clearly it consists of a nafi wal ithbat. La ilaha. There is no deity worthy of worship. This is what? A nafi. Illallah, except Allah. Ithbat. Negating divinity, negating godlike powers, godlike attributes, and negating the right to be worshipped from anything other than Allah, and affirming all of that for Allah. That is a tawheed, and that is the shahada at bottom. That's basically the lowest compound of its meaning. So basically, when we say tafsir tawheed, basically means that a tawheed at bottom is negating everything which is specific or exclusive to Allah, negating that and stripping that from anything besides Allah. And so what the author does in this chapter is he kind of cites some adillah, some proof texts from the Quran and the Hadith, which demonstrate how Allah explains the Tawheed in the Quran, how His Prophet explains it in the Sunnah, through what? Through giving examples of what? Negating and affirming. There are certain things that we negate from other than Allah and affirm them to Allah. What are some of those things? The author gives some examples. Sometimes some of these examples, it's clear from the wording where the negation is and where the affirmation is. And sometimes you gather it from the meaning. So there's no clear affirmation and negation in terms of what? A love, in terms of the wording. But the meaning, from the meaning, it's clear. So the first example he gives is verses 56 and 57 from Surah Al-Isra. He says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلُوا ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُمْ مِن دُونِهِ فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنْكُمْ وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ يَبْتَغُونَ إِلَى رَبِّهِمُ الْوَسِيلَةَ أَيُّهُمْ أَقْرَبُ وَيَرْجُونَ رَحْمَتَهُ وَيَخَافُونَ عَذَابَهُ إِنَّ عَذَابَ رَبِّكَ كَانَ مَحْذُورًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse, he says what means, say, O Muhammad, to them, to those people who call upon others besides Allah. Ud'u alladhina za'amtum min dunihi. Call upon those that you worship besides Him. Some of them worshipped al-jinn. Some of them worshipped al-malaika. Some of them worshipped Isa ibn Maryam. Call whoever it is that you're calling upon, call upon them. فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنْكُمْ وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا. That's what? An-nafi. These deities shouldn't be worshipped. These people you worship besides Allah, no matter how righteous they are, pious they are, how powerful they are in your mind, they shouldn't be worshipped besides Allah. Why should they be worshipped? One reason, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ يَبْتَغُونَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمُ الْوَسِيلَةَ. These people that you worship, or these ones that you worship, they do what? They worship who? Allah. That's who? That's what? Ithbat. Y'all see that? Don't worship the jinn, right? They worship Allah. Don't worship al-malaika, they worship Allah. Don't worship Isa, he worships Allah. You should worship Allah. طيب. The next one he gives is this is, I'm trying to think what surah this is. They don't give the numbers, they don't give the names. Sometimes you forget what number it is. So this is from the Quran. He says, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ لِأَبِيهِ وَقَوْمِهِ إِنَّنِي بُرَاءٌ مِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ إِلَّا الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي فَإِنَّهُ سَيَهْدِينِ وَجَعَلَهَا كَلِمَةً بَاقِيَةً فِي عَقِبِهِ لَعَلَّهُ يَرْجِعُونَ. طيب, so, and remember when Ibrahim said to his father and his people, verily I am innocent of what you worship. So that's what? That's an-nafi. Ahsan, that's a nafi. I don't worship these things that you worship. إِلَّا الَّذِي فَطَرَنِي. Except what? Worship. Now if you look in the first one, the very first one, it's negating what? Worship and kul wasila litaqarrub. Right? The second one, same thing. Negating worship. Okay, negating worship and affirming it, negating it from other deities and affirming it to Allah. But let's take a third example. This one comes from Surah At-Tawbah, and it's verse number 31. اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله والمسيح ابن مريم وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا. They, the Jews and Christians, took their rabbis and their monks to be their lords besides Allah. Lords. The thing about lordship, it usually has to do with actions and authority that is specific to who? Specific to God. You guys see that? So when they took their monks and rabbis as lords besides Allah, it means that they would let them dictate what was halal and what was haram. They gave them the authority that should only be given to God. Y'all see that? So now it's what? Negating God-like authority from what? These deities. So it says, they, the Jews and Christians, took their rabbis and monks to be their lords besides Allah. وَالْمَسِيحَ ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ. That's what? النفي. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا. Ithbat. Affirming that the one who should be given that authority is who? Is God alone. But what that shows you is, it's not just going to somebody's grave and worshiping at that shrine. That's negated. Even what? Even giving others God-like authority. Y'all see that? And this is what Allah is teaching us, that tafsir goes beyond what? Goes beyond prostrating to an idol. It goes beyond that. Even giving someone God-like authority, the right to make halal haram and haram halal. Like, give another example. He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مِن يَتَّخِذُ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ أَنْدَادًا يُحِبُّونَهُمْ كَحُبِّ اللَّهِ وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. Like, there's no clear nafi and ithbat here. But from the ma'na, from the meaning, we can see the negation, the affirmation. He says, وَمِنَ النَّاسِ, and of mankind, or among mankind, are those who take for worship others. They take for worship others or rival deities besides Allah. They love them as they should only love Allah. As if to say what? As if to say that there is a certain love is something we express and we feel towards God and we feel towards other than God. But there's a certain type of love that only should be expressed towards who? Allah. Allah is negating that. They love them as they should only love Allah. Then he says what? That's nafi. That's a nafi. But bil ma'na. We understand from that a nafi. Then he says what? وَالَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَشَدُّ حُبًّا لِلَّهِ. But those who believe, they love Allah more than anything else, right? That they give that love that should only be given to Allah, they give it only to Allah. We'll mention one last one and we'll close. This is the hadith of collected by Muslim, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَكَفَرَ بِمَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ حَرُمَ مَالُهُ وَدَمُهُ وَحِسَابُهُ عَلَى اللَّهِ. مَنْ قَالَ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا اللَّهِ. He who professed, declares that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. He affirmed what? At-Tawheed. وَكَفَرَ بِمَا يُعْبَدْ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. And then he negated a shirk. A nafi what? Wal-ithbat. Y'all see that? And so then the Imam, he closes the chapter by saying this. He says, وَالشَّرْحُ هَذِهِ التَّرْجُمَةِ مَا بَعْدَهَا مِنَ الْأَبْوَابِ. He says, and the explanation of this title that I have given, the Tafsir of Al-Tawheed, the explanation of Al-Tawheed, is going to be provided in what? In the coming chapters. What he means by that is to say, a person would say, okay, I understand that Al-Tawheed, its lowest compound, is what? A nephew wal ithbat. There's certain things we negate from other than Allah and we affirm it for Allah. But now the question comes, bit tafsil, in detail, in specific, what are those things that we negate from other than Allah and affirm to Allah? He's saying the answer to that question will be provided in the coming chapters, and you're going to see it. He's going to talk about, for example, things that people do that amount to a shirk, amount to a violation of what? Negating what they should negate and affirming what they should affirm. You guys see that? So that's basically that chapter in a nutshell. And inshallah ta'ala, when we meet again, we'll start chapter number 7, which is the first example of a Tawheed, or the Tafsir of Tawheed in more specifics, and its opposite, a shirk. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as always